You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show. Yes, it's the Finnish Football Show. Thank you, listener, for joining us today. I'm Mark Wiltshire, and today I'm joined once again by Rasmus Junila. Hi, Rasmus.
Hi, Mark.
Listener, we were planning to do a bit of a Helmarit catch-up episode after the Women's Euros over the last couple of weeks, but the Finnish Football Show does not assemble like Avengers. It's not always easy to get everyone together at the same time, and therefore it's me and Rade, and he told me last week that the women's international football is not his speciality because he's been so busy commentating on the local football in Tampa.
Yeah, I think I was at work during each of the Helmarit group matches. So even if I wanted to catch the games live, I didn't get the chance myself. I did catch some highlights and stuff like that, but yeah, not so much to add other than I think Helmarit gave a great view of the Finnish women's football, and there was a good support for them in the tournament, and they ran a couple of really good teams, really close, and had a realistic chance of going through the group, but injury time goal for Switzerland denied them. But I think it was still one of those that we can be proud of the team, them scoring the first goal in 16 years. And in general, the phenomenon behind Helmarit, I think, was really positive one.
Yeah, we hopefully maybe at the beginning of August, when everybody's sort of getting back from summer holidays and things like that, we'll get together and talk a little bit more about that. But I think you're right. Seppo, who was on the pod previously talking about the under-21s, he was also out in Switzerland watching the Helmarit, and there was another big travelling crowd. I'm just so impressed with the work that the Pohjois-Karre does following all of the international teams. It's incredible stuff. And I watched two of the games. The third one I had a family engagement, so that's why we need the team. Wherever you are, team, we need everyone there to bring a little bit to this. So let's talk about that and do it justice after summer. Talking of summer, Rado, this is brutal. Listener, I don't know, you might slowly see me sort of melting, or both of us melting during this recording, because Finland is hot, and Finland is not designed to be hot, is it?
Yeah, I'm lucky that my camera is not anywhere close to HD, so the viewers can see me sweating profusely. And I just came back from Tammela Stadion, a match between Ilves and Vepsu. Luckily, most of the stadium is like in a shadow. It's not direct heat all the time, except in a couple of sections in the stadium. But yeah, still hanging out there for a couple of hours is exercise in these temperatures.
Yeah, it really. I mean, let's be honest. Having a nap on the sofa is exercise in these temperatures. But we're going to. So it's the two of us today. We thought we'd just do a little bit of a Veikkausliiga catch up. Look at the standings in the table and things that are going on for each team, and then there's the European season has started. So we got 4 of the Veikkausliiga teams in various European action. So we'll have a chat about all of those as well.
Sounds good.
So, Rasmus, let's just go through the league table, and I think at the top of the table there's a little phenomenon happening down in Turku. We've got Inter Turku sitting at the top, 9 wins and 6 draws from 15 games, so unbeaten, clearly, and only 10 goals conceded and 3 and 30 scored in that time. That's like an average 3-1 win across those games. It's quite something. What at the start of the season, I think we thought that Inter would be good. They looked like they had a decent team, and there was a pre-season practice game against SJK where they looked really dangerous, although SJK won the practice game. What's that? 15 games they've played most of the teams in the league, so it's not like they've had an easy run as such. So what's going on down there?
For me, it's still pretty hard to say and pretty hard to believe that they are actually the top team in the league. Deservedly so, of course, because they are unbeaten after 15 matches. But then again, Ilves has lost 4, and we are just a point behind them. So 6 draws is still technically 12 points drop. So the pace that they are picking up points isn't otherworldly in any means, but
that's
still,
a fair point.
Yeah, they've had a pretty solid season. The fact that they are unbeaten is really surprising at this stage. But I think before the season started, had an idea that they would be potentially a really solid team, well coached team, experienced coach in Vesa Vasara over there, but they won the League Cup now 2 years in a row, which is obviously a bit of a preseason tournament here in Finland. And last year, that was not a good sign of how their season was going to go, because they had a tough time in the first part of the season after a good preseason. So this time around, they managed to keep it going. The best goal difference in the league with plus 20, so 10 conceded, 30 goals scored. So that's good going there. But I think their team is good, but not spectacular. And I think the biggest thing for Inter in the summer window is to keep the team intact and not to lose their best players. For example, Axel Kouame in midfield. Their midfield is actually really strong with Florian Krebs, Kouame, and Ampofo, three names which usually form their midfield. So I don't think there's a team in the league that has a better midfield, for example. And Jasse Tuominen come in late before the start of the season was a really big one for them, and I think he's been a good addition with his goals in the team. And yeah, overall they just look really solid, and if they keep this pace, they are definitely going to be in the running for the title. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that they are the favorites for absolutely anything at this stage. Not yet, anyway. So after this start, I expect them to be up there, maybe for the rest of the season.
Yeah, interesting looking at the stats that or the results actually, that their draws, a lot of their draws have been against the teams in the bottom half, but against the better teams, they managed to win most of those games. Can they keep that? Can they keep that going? Can they keep this form going?
Yeah, possibly. And can they improve on the draws against teams below them? They might, but I think that's pretty much a trend in the Veikkausliiga, that there's not at this moment, there's not a team that's above the rest of them. So all of the matches are going to be pretty much tight, and the winning margins aren't that big. Maybe against the bottom teams, even though Jaro, for example, has done really well considering the expectations and their budget and so on. But against KTP, a few teams have gotten big wins, but there's not a lot of them. Most of the games in the league are really tight.
And then we're talking about games that are tight. You said you've just come back from the game. Ilves 3, Vaasa, VPS Vaasa 2. That looked quite tight as well. It certainly went down to the last minute.
I think it's becoming a bit of a trademark win for Ilves. That type of match that Ilves has the control. They look pretty much the better team, but creating chances isn't that easy. And even if we get the lead, there's always a chance of us throwing away a lead. And we did so again tonight and had to claw ourselves back. I think it was 5 minutes from full time that we got the equalizer, and shortly afterwards we got the winner. And that's not the first time that has happened in Ilves home games or in Ilves games in general. So Ilves is, I think, pretty close to Inter in that aspect that we can win most teams or maybe any team in the league, but any team in the league can also give us a really tough match. And today was one of those.
Yeah, we'll come to VPS a little bit later, but they're currently sitting in sort of mid table in seventh place, basically. So it's a game that you would expect to win, but I feel like they haven't won so many games, but they've pushed some teams quite hard. We'll come on to those again shortly. Should we also talk about Ilves in Europe?
We can.
Let's just set this up by saying that there's 4 Veikkausliiga teams playing in various competitions in Europe. You've got Ilves, KuPS, HJK, and SJK. So we'll talk about all of those other teams very, very shortly. But Ilves had a really tough draw.
Really tough draw, and even the following draw that if we would have somehow managed to beat Shakhtar Donetsk, we wouldn't got Besiktas from Turkey in the Europa League, and now it seems we are getting eliminated from the Europa League, and our next opponent in the Conference League, it's going to be AZ Alkmaar from the Dutch Eredivisie. So
it doesn't get any easier, really, does it?
Not really. Yeah, no.
And the funny thing is, like, you talk to people who follow like Premier League or La Liga or Bundesliga teams, and they look at the Champions League and think, Europa League, that's small. We're not so interested in that. And then when you're coming from the perspective of the Veikkausliiga, you're looking up, and Shakhtar and Besiktas and AZ Alkmaar are big traditional European sides, and they're tough draws.
It's like the difference in the quality of the teams, the budgets, player market values. It's just gigantic. To be frank, I don't think all of the people following the their local teams and Veikkausliiga quite get how big the difference is when you go towards the top of the European football pyramid. Obviously, those teams aren't at the top, but the distance from them to the top isn't anywhere near as big as the distance from a Veikkausliiga club is to, let's say, a mid-level European club like the ones you mentioned, the teams that make it regularly to some sort of European competition, but maybe don't have that big successes in them often. But yeah, the gap to a Veikkausliiga team is huge, and I think we got an unlucky draw because there were loads of teams that would have been way more realistic opponents in terms of qualifying or even giving a proper account of ourselves. But the gap to Shakhtar was just, in the end, it was ridiculous. Ilves didn't have a good game in the away leg, which was played in Slovenia. But in the end, it got pretty ugly. If the scoreline would have been 3, even 4-0, it would not have been so devastating as a 6-0 scoreline is. So in a couple of days, we have the second leg here in Tampere, and we host Shakhtar. But yeah, we're 6 goals behind, so we need a pretty big one on Thursday.
Yeah, a pretty big performance and a pretty big miracle as well, I think. So realistically, the next round will be in the Europa Conference, and AZ Alkmaar, which is it's another challenge.
Yeah, I think it's after the big 3 in in the Netherlands, obviously Ajax, PSV, and Feyenoord. They are the fourth biggest team in the country, a very, very well-run club. If anybody catched the Finnish under-21s team playing their opening match in the Euros this summer against the Netherlands, they might have seen a couple of players from Alkmaar playing for the Netherlands under-21s. There was a guy called Poku and the son of Mark van Bommel, for example, who they both play for Alkmaar. And that's a really, really tough opponent. I actually gave a short interview to a fan site of AZ Alkmaar called AZ Alerts. They asked me a few questions about Ilves and Tampere and Finnish football and so on. And the case is pretty much the same as against Shakhtar, that in every single position on the pitch, we are so handicapped that it's not even that funny. But football is sometimes like that. You just need to go out, face whoever you're facing, do the best you can, and let's see where that takes you. So that's the case in our European games. But yeah, big teams. Hopefully against Alkmaar, at least when we start at home, the first leg is a home match. So we can try at least to surprise them in some way.
Yeah, and looking at the league table, below Ilves in third place is KuPS Kuopio, and I think the fact that KuPS are third and HJK are fourth kind of reinforces the point you made earlier that the table's the top five teams is very tight, and no one is really stretching ahead. So KuPS have played 16, won 9, lost 4 of those, sitting there on 30 points. And first of all, let's talk about their league form, because it's missing. Here we go. Because recently they've had a couple of good wins, but also a couple of draws and two wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats in the last 6. And Ilves gave them a thumping. They gave 3-0. They beat HJK 3-0. They beat Gnistan 6-2, but then drew with Oulu and lost to Mariehamn. Like, that's really weird form.
That is, but I think it was Ilves won 3-0 away to KuPS, and after that they lost to Mariehamn, and there were at least a few rumblings from Kuopio and KuPS fans about the new head coach, former Ilves coach Jaro, and his style of play. And let's face it, this is a results business. The style of play doesn't matter that much if you just keep on winning and picking up some sort of results. And to be fair to Vis and KuPS, they have had a better run of results since those couple of losses. But yeah, in between there was the draw to Oulu, which is a bit of a surprising one, as Oulu is near the bottom of the table. Yeah, I think that's just Veikkausliiga for you at this moment in time. There are no easy matches for basically anyone. But yeah, still important run of results. They've gotten into the semifinals of the Suomen Cup, and a couple of wins, HJK and against Gnistan, good wins, and of course the first leg of the Champions League qualifiers against the Moldovan champions. Milsami, very, very big 1-0 win from the first leg, and now it's time for Jarkovic to show his skills in navigating a lead in Europe to qualifying to the next round. If they can do that, I think they'll get more piece to work in for the rest of the season. I think they are in the title race, but they're going to have to work hard to defend their championship.
And again, it's that thing. It's like the Moldovan champions, and you think, well, you'd expect to beat them, but but we're talking about the teams from the Veikkausliiga, and however strong they appear in Finland, once you take that step up to European competition, you're maybe coming up with against teams with a bit more experience, or at least teams that are matching your level. So any win in Europe is good, and let's see if they can build on that in the away game, as you said, tomorrow evening.
Yeah, and obviously the weird things can happen in football. For example, in Moldova, there is Sheriff Tiraspol, which is a way bigger club than the one that KuPS faced. I think Ilves could have drawn Sheriff in the Europa League, and their market value of the team is close to 7 million euros, which is pretty close to the same level as HJK, for example. So I think KuPS got a bit lucky that the team champions from Moldova isn't anywhere near the biggest club, even from Moldova.
No, there's weird things. There's weird things behind the scenes at Sheriff, isn't there? There's funding coming from owners, and is it not so that they're actually located in a separate region, but they play in Moldova? I heard a podcast. It might have been The Sweeper or something like that recently, where they were talking about Sheriff, and it's they again, when they get into the bigger European competitions, people don't realize. They think, oh, it's just some team from Moldova, but actually they got big money behind them.
Yeah, I remember something similar about their ownership and the whole situation, but not that accurately. So don't quote me on anything. But yeah, still, yeah, I think the draw for KuPS was favorable, but now they need to see it through. And if they do that, they have a decent chance of getting at least a couple of more of the European qualifiers. And as HJK has shown in recent years, that if you go through the first tie in the Champions League, then you have a great chance of going at least to the league phase of the Conference League. So I think that's what KuPS is aiming for.
Yes, and then next in the table is HJK, and this is another team who are just they're just a weird team this year. They started the season abysmally, and we were all laughing at them and laughing at our HJK supporting friends because they were second from bottom after 4 or 5 games. Then from the end of April to the end of June, they were unbeaten. And now in July, seemingly they're really struggling to put any kind of results together. The most recently, there was that 3-0 defeat against KuPS at the end of June. Then they lost at home to Jaro, 3-2. A 2-0 away win over VPS. But then this European game last week, away to Runavík in Faroe Islands. And they went down 4-0. 4-0.
Yeah, and from what I heard and read about the match, it could have been way worse. Even the official report from HJK's own website said that if Runavík would have been more clinical in their finishing, it could have been way worse. So they just had an absolute stinker.
They did have a red card early on in the game, so there's some mitigating circumstances, but still, it's still 4-0.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it's tough to play from the 23rd minute onwards to play with 10 men, but that's a team formed of semi-professional lads. There's the classic postman in the team, a few guys from the local fish factory or whatever you can imagine what people over there in the islands do for a job, and it's just a semi-pro team, apparently a very well run one. Of course, take nothing away from Runavík or sides from those type of countries. It's obviously it's magnificent that those type of teams get their few minutes of fame once a year or a couple of times a year. These stories emerge, but to be totally frank, that's beyond embarrassing for HJK. Just to, if they don't perform a miracle of some sort, they are out of Europe. And I think
at the first hurdle as well, in the lowest of the European competitions too.
I think they were really lucky last year also to qualify for the league phase in the Conference League. I think the last team they beat was the Faroe Islands champions last week. I think that you guys faced recently.
But I suppose it's possible if you bring Runovic to Helsinki, fill the ground with a big passionate crowd, and are on form, that game could be turned around. It's not trying to get 7 goals against Shakhtar, for example. It's not impossible.
I think there's a slight lifeline that HJK can hold on to. You just need to get the opening goal quickly, maybe get a red card to the opponent, which happened to HJK. That always help. But it's not impossible, but it's very, very unlikely still. And I think that would be something that is deserved for HJK, because just trying to remember that you guys don't swear here, but it's
well done.
It's been a proper dumpster fire. The way they've been run last year and this year, the changing of managers, and even though they've spent money again bringing in high quality players such as Teemu Pukki, Alexander Ring, former HJK player, and Pukki, a current one. So very, very big additions to the team, and they've still changed the manager. They brought in quite an unexperienced manager in Mika Nuutinen. He's obviously very talented and promising coach, but he this was the first European game as a head coach for him. And as he said in the reports and post-match interviews, that they just couldn't get anywhere near to a level that lets you win or gain absolutely anything from those types of matches. So that's a big bummer for them and for him. But maybe even if they can put up a fight in the second leg, that will look a bit better than the first leg went. But I think HJK as an organization deserves this type of wake-up call, as luckily the level of Finnish football is going up in other clubs as well, and I think HJK has to be reminded regularly that they have to be a lot better if they want to be the flagship of Finnish football. At the moment, it's not looking like it.
Is there any thoughts generally among fans or experts about why HJK is having such a up and down season, or such a erratic season?
I think they are just struggling to nail down a strategy of what they are trying to do and how they want to achieve success. This season, they've changed quite a bit in terms of, I think their team is, even though they brought in high caliber players, as I mentioned a moment ago, but otherwise their team is a lot younger. They played a lot of their academy players, given opportunities to young players. I think that is a good direction, even for HJK and for Finnish football in general, but I don't think they just nailed down a specific strategy, what they are trying to do. And it's if you're trying to do too many things at once, you end up doing none of them very good. And I think it's that type of thing. Still, I think they should be good enough to pull themselves back to the title race and be in it until the end. Again, if they can do that without European football, then it's just a disaster.
Yeah, and going from one team that's bringing in more and more young players to fifth place, which is my team, SJK, who have been bringing through more and more young players for the last couple of years now. And again, we sort of had the opposite to HJK. We started really strongly, then we had lots of injuries, which kind of knocked us down the table. Now we're coming back. I think it's still a bit hit and miss results wise. There's some good wins in there. Then thrown in amongst it are some shocking performances against Oulu. It seems they definitely seem to be our bogey team. There was a 2-2 draw in the league and a 2-0 defeat in the Suomen Cup, which was just mind blowing. What's happened recently? There's European games. Obviously, we got the transfer window open. So Puru Hannala has come back from his loan in Poland. That they did not take they didn't buy him at the end of that loan. So he's gone back into the team, which brings some quality. I don't think we're seeing him stand out yet, but he definitely brings some quality into the team. We bought Arman Wilson from KTP. Sami, our friend from KTP, was most disappointed to lose him. So that's always positive when your new player is wanted by the fans of the club he's just left. And then we also brought back Murillo for his third stint at SJK. And I think that brings some experience and someone who knows the club. So we've sort of signed brought some new players back, but actually two of them are old players who really know the club and know what they're doing. And we had the home game against Klaksvik last week and went down 2-1. And I don't think that counts as the same level of disaster that maybe 4-0 away for HJK does. The Klaksvik is a very experienced team with many Faroese international players in the team. SJK is a very young team, many of them playing their first European game, and we only had one Faroese international player in our team, so we were even outnumbered with that. And I think the game went kind of how I expected. I mean, I was hoping for a more positive result, but actually we were really under the cosh for 20 minutes or so. But then after a while, Klaksvik couldn't really cope with the way SJK moved. And there were some comments made by one of their players to Stevie Grieve, who said that, we just couldn't handle it. We're used to sort of sitting back and hitting on the counter-attack, and we just couldn't find a way to do that. Again, similar to the HJK game, if they had brought their shooting boots, they did create plenty of chances to extend their lead before we got into the game. But a week later, we go to them. Do we know a little bit better about how they play and how to counter that? Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what we come up with as a team to turn that tie around. But I certainly don't think it's over yet.
Yeah, I think you have the best chance. Well, yeah, obviously, best chance out of the other Finnish teams, apart from KuPS, obviously, but the ones that lost the first legs. I think you can make a game out of it, even away. And what you're telling about the match sounds promising. That the intensity that SJK can bring to a match was something that the opponent struggled with. So I imagine that you guys are going to go all out in the away leg and just see where you can get. The first leg was very tight, with the winner coming quite late on. So I think you still have a decent chance of at least making a good game out of it.
Yeah, some of the SJK fans are a bit concerned that we're playing the Faroe Islands and the referees from Iceland, and is there some kind of friendliness between them? And I said, yeah, just in the same way that there's friendliness between England and Scotland. Yeah. Probably nothing at all. And to be fair, the fans were giving the referee quite a bit of stick. But I think the club weren't so worried about what the ref did. I mean, it wasn't a corner at the end that led to their goal, but then if you defend it better, it's not a goal. There was also a little bit of fun last week. Maybe you remember last season in springtime, I appeared on the Sweeper podcast and talked about SJK's Makkara minuutti.
Yeah.
This sausage minute where if you score a goal in the minute 77, then everyone gets a voucher for a free sausage the next home game. And that story was repeated on the Guardian Football Weekly podcast last week by one of the guys from the Sweeper, Paul Watson, and that caused a little bit of fun again. So now it's the SJK's Makkara minuutti has reached a far bigger audience than me or the Sweeper were able to take it to.
I think you should. I hope someday you get to play against the Norwegian side, Bodo Glimt, and there's going to be Makkara minuutti versus the sausage water.
I don't even know if I want to know what the sausage water is.
It's they just serve sausage water in a cup.
Why would you? Is that like a warm drink to warm you up? Is it the water that the hot dogs have been cooked in?
Salty water you like boil the sausages in. They serve that at the Bodo Glimt matches. That's one of the most more bizarre ones that I've ever heard.
Well, it is, and I'm surprised I didn't hear that story when Spurs were playing at Bodo, because there was all these stories coming out, all this press. I never heard about their sausage water, and it just makes me think of traditionally in the UK, a drink you would have is Bovril. Have you heard of Bovril? It's a bit like it's a beef stock. And you get it in a jar. It's like a paste, and you just mix it with water. It's like gravy. We pour it over our Sunday roast, but you can have it as a drink as well. And I've got a jar in my cupboard here now. It's a bit like Marmite, but it's made from meat rather than made from yeast. And as a kid, a cup of Bovril and a pie, that is football food, but not sausage water. So, I'm not sure. Did we do SJK's recent run? Yeah, I think we covered what SJK's been doing recently.
I can say something short about them. Their most recent Veikkausliiga match, I think, was against Ilves, and it was once again it was a draw. I think. Can't quite remember all of them, but I don't remember the last time we beat SJK. Might have been in the last match of last season. Yeah, we beat you guys then. But between Ilves and SJK, always really, really tight. And I think stylistically, you're one of those teams that we always just struggle against. You're just so intense without the ball, and when you have the ball, it's always go time, and always an entertaining match. But I think we oftentimes struggle to beat SJK. So a draw away against you guys wasn't that bad of a result for Ilves at least. But yeah. Hats off to Mr. Grieve and his team, because playing with such a young team and consistently, let's say, punching above your weight might be pretty accurate. So if you do that consistently, there must be something good going on in the coaching staff and how the club is run, and of course getting the best out of such a young squad. I think you guys can be proud just to be where you are and playing in Europe and trying to achieve that season in, season out. And that's a big achievement compared to the resources at Seinäjoki.
Yeah, and I guess finally just a little shout out to our friend Jamie, who came up on the train, and we had a very nice afternoon out before, during, and after the game. And it's always good to mix with the away fans, especially when it's one of your mates.
Yeah, I would have made the away trip also, but yeah, one of those times I was working, so didn't have the chance.
There should be another game.
Maybe later in the season.
Yeah, let's pencil that one in. Next is Gnistan, who I think 6th place is kind of where I thought they'd be pushing for, based on a really good season last year and the way they've added to their squad, and it's not an easy team to play against. They're okay. They got a bit of a beating 6-2 recently against KuPS, but they're drawn with Inter. They've beaten Haka. They've drawn with Vaasa and KTP. And again, a little bit mixed, but I think that's what you'd expect from a team sitting in the middle of the table. But they seem very, very safe and not an easy team to beat.
Not by any means, and I think a mixed bag is pretty accurate when describing Gnistan's seasons. 15 games played, 5 wins, 5 draws, and 5 losses. So that's pretty.
That's a proper mid-table.
Can't get any more mixed results than that. So, and as a team, I think I expected them to be where they are, and chasing for those types of positions in the top 6. Budget-wise, they are the team with the 3rd highest budget in the league, which is
that's interesting.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a surprise to some. The difference to, let's say, Ilves, SJK, and Inter isn't huge by any means, but still they have a slightly bigger budget, and I think they made some decent signings before the season, and maybe even some during the season. And Jussi Leppälahti's their head coach's teams, they are always really, really tough teams, intense pressing, and just trying to be as uncomfortable opponents as possible. I think that's the best way to describe his teams. But I think the quality in the team would maybe even allow them to do a bit better results-wise. So I'm expecting maybe a bit more from them in the, let's say, the second half of the season. They can at least keep the pace with the likes of SJK around 5th and 6th place. I think if you look at their team, for example, their midfield, on its day, it could be one of the better ones in the league. I think they just lack a decent goal scorer. Tim Väyrynen hasn't really done it this season in terms of his goal return. He's a good experienced player, but if they had a guy that you can rely on to score 15 goals in the Veikkausliiga, I think they would be way higher up. But they're one of those teams, you're not going to beat them easily, but they are not going to beat anyone that easily either. So I think it's pretty fair where they are at the moment.
And regarding the budgets, Stevie would be very disappointed if I didn't point out that SJK may have that budget, but they stretch it over 3 teams competing in 3 different divisions, which has become part of the strategy. So consider that done, Stevie. VPS. So we're now dropping into the second half of the bottom half of the table, if you like. So this is below the split that will come at the end of August, and we've got in 7th VPS Vaasa, 18 points. 8th IFK Mariehamn, 16 points. 9th is Jaro with 15 points. Then Haka also with 15 points in 10th place. Oulu in 11th with 12 points, and KTP just recently slipped to the bottom with 10 points. Where do you want to go first, Rasmus, with these?
Tough one. Maybe we go straight to the bottom just to save a bit of time.
Save a lot of time if we skip all the other 5 and go straight to the bottom.
Yeah, if we go quite straightforward from the bottom up, I think if I'm up to date and I haven't missed any big news, correct me if I'm wrong, but there hasn't been a a sacking of a head coach or a manager at this point.
No, that's a good point. I don't think there has been.
I don't think so either. I think it's a thing I said when last time I was on the show, that's a thing to keep an eye on, because KTP and Oulu are in a situation that sort of thing starts happening pretty quick if isn't any change to the results. But KTP at the bottom with 10 points, I think it's by far the biggest disappointment of the season, because they have a really decent team in terms of the budget and the players that they brought in. For example, the former Haka player Petteri Forsell coming in, the vastly experienced Japanese fella Atom Tanaka, long time player for HJK, came in, and if you just go through KTP,
Joona Toivio as well. There's kind of a spine there, isn't there, of experienced players.
Yeah, I think you shouldn't be anywhere near to automatic relegation with a team like that. On top of the experienced team, they have a pretty unexperienced manager in Jonas Nyholm, who's the youngest head coach / manager in the Veikkausliiga. So his style of play might have suited them better in the second tier than it does in Veikkausliiga. The one time I've seen them live was KTP Ilves. Ilves had a big 5-0 away win, but it was still way tighter than the scoreline suggested in the end. And I think they played okay, even in that game. But yeah, it's not good if they've let in 36 goals in 15 matches and scored 16. So if you score one and let in somewhere between 2 and 3, that's not a recipe for anything other than relegation. So I'm not one to promote for managers to get sacked, but I'm still pretty surprised that Jonas Nyholm is still in a job.
It has brought some new players in recently. They've been quite busy in the transfer market as well. They brought in Lucas Rangel, who's people may remember from his time at KuPS. They've signed Aaro Toivonen from HJK, Nathaniel Tambi from SJK, who didn't. He looked good when he played, but didn't quite get a chance this season. But bearing in mind, the season's only been 3 months old. It's not like he's had a lot of time to break into the team, but he's gone already. And maybe that's all of the most recent signings. I thought there was another one, but anyway, there's a few new players that have come in recently. Oh, maybe it was the goalkeeper Linna who got booted in the face viciously by Roope Riski in a recent game as well. So they're trying to strengthen. Maybe they've seen where they've got some weakness, and they're trying to strengthen there. But our friend Sami is pulling his hair out at the moment.
Yeah, the big cliche is of course that you always need a goal scorer to stay up, and KTP is in desperate need of one. I think a good example of Jaro, another promoted side. They have got the top goal scorer actually in the league altogether. So I don't think in terms of performance wise, Jaro isn't that far ahead of KTP, Oulu, and teams like that. But they've just managed to grind out a few results at this stage. So it's fair to say it's still pretty tight at the bottom, because between Mariehamn in 8th on 16 points and KTP at the bottom on 10, so there's only a 6-point difference. So it can easily swing in many ways at this stage. But yeah, I think KTP and Oulu has both been really disappointing, and the fact that there hasn't been any changes in any manager maybe it's a good trend that teams trust the head coaches and try to reinforce the team uh, in opposite to sacking the head coach. So maybe that's a good thing that there aren't as many as there was. I think a couple of years ago, almost everyone in the league lost their job at some stage of the season, and in the next season there was like one or two coaches that had retained their job from the start of the earlier season. So I think we might be going to a bit of a better way in terms of that. But yeah, if we're going up the table, next up on 15 points is Haka and Jaro. Jaro, I think, has been, even though they are still in the relegation fight, and I think they are going to be until the end of the season, they have been one of the most positive surprises of the Veikkausliiga season so far. And Haka, maybe, I think there's nothing that surprising about Haka's season. They are in for a fight, but still expect them to have enough quality to stay, quality and experience to stay up. But I think from the teams at the lower end, Jaro has been the best one.
Yeah, and one point I just wanted to make about Oulu is that they had a really difficult start to the season. They whatever was going wrong there continued for quite a while. But in the last 3 games, they've won 2 and drawn 1, and the beating Vaasa, beating KTP, so that was a proper 6-pointer just yesterday, and that put them above KTP and pushed the others down to the bottom. And then there was a home draw with KuPS in there as well, so they're helping themselves and also, causing a bit of chaos at the top of the table there.
And I don't think I need to remind you, but I'm going to anyways, that they eliminated SJK from the cup and advanced to the semifinals of the cup. So
Yeah.
a bit of a silver lining there for Oulu.
Yeah, that's true. And by the time those semifinals come round, if they can play themselves in some kind of form, I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but the semi-final, what are the fixtures for the semi-finals?
It's HJK and Oulu.
Okay.
And KuPS, I'm not going to say anything wrong here, so I'm just going to check it really quickly. It's KuPS and Jaro.
Yeah, that's quite interesting semi-finals, aren't there? It's like 2 of the bigger, most successful teams, and then 2 of the teams that are currently towards the bottom of the table. It could be quite interesting. It could be an Oulu Jaro final. That would be something.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just would be refreshing for Finnish football in general. But yeah, I think the odds are that the final is going to be HJK and KuPS. And if things keep going the same way, I think the European spot from the Suomen Cup could be a vital one again this year. So there is a chance of KuPS repeating what they did last year, and maybe even HJK doing the double. But if some team is going to do the double, the league and the cup, then the place from the cup winner goes to the second place team, which Ilves got last year. So that's a bit of a curious one in terms of the European spots for next season, just to keep an eye on the cup. But yeah, football romantic wise, it would be amazing that if Jaro or Oulu made it to the final, or if both of them did it, that would be extraordinary.
I guess we should just touch a little bit on VPS and Mariehamn. I think Mariehamn were many people's sort of prediction before the season started to be in trouble, and they're in 8th. They've won 4, drawn 4, lost 7, scored 15, conceded 30. I mean, that's not so different to many of their sort of peers in the bottom half of the table. But they're sort of well above the relegation zone at the moment, 4 points clear of Oulu and 6 points clear of KTP. And they seem to, they seem to be well organised. I think when they fall apart, they really fall apart. But there's something there. There's some tenacity there for the team that sort of wants to fight and wants to try and, I don't know, grind out those wins. I mean, again, they beat KuPS at home. If you look at the games KuPS have lost, they've lost to all teams down the bottom of the table. It's or drop points to those teams. Anyway, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think the win Mariehamn got against KuPS, that's just an masterpiece of a football performance. They had half as many shots as KuPS, 31% of possession, expected goals of 0.49, and still managed to win the reigning champions. So you can't do much better than that, being an underdog like Mariehamn. So I think there has to be some credit for Gary Williams and his coaching staff. They aren't that good of a team in terms of their squad, but I think they are making the most of what they got. And maybe they've been a bit lucky in some matches, and maybe they won the right matches, so to say. But for them not to be in any more trouble that they are now, I think they're not clear of the trouble. It can swing in the other direction as well, but so far I think they've given themselves at least a good chance of not getting relegated. Again, they've been in the top tier of Finnish football for, I think, over a decade now, which is that's remarkable.
And about VPS, I haven't seen very much of them, obviously, this year. I don't follow our closest rivals quite so closely. But I did notice that they just lost Mads Borchers, their top goal scorer. He's moved on. I didn't see where, or I did see, but I didn't pay close enough attention. But have you seen much of Vaasa this season?
I think a couple of times I might have watched the away match with the Ilves, and now obviously
of course today,
seen them tonight. And just to add on, Borchers, the Danish striker that scored 16 goals in 22 matches he played in Veikkausliiga across 2 seasons. He obviously suffered a bit from injuries last season and also this season. So maybe the Finnish football fans didn't even get to see the best of the lad, but now he's moved on to FC Ingolstadt.
Okay, well, that's decent level in Germany there.
Yeah, the third tier in Germany. That's not bad going. You can make it to a better level from there, and he's not an old player. So yeah, big loss for VPS. But what I saw of them for tonight, for example, they are just intense team. They press high. There's a lot of physicality, lots of challenges in the match. I think they gave Ilves a pretty tough match in terms of the physical battle, but their football was a bit predictable. Ilves figured them out quite well in terms of their build-up, and the options Ilves gave them, they couldn't do much with those. But a couple of good crossing situations in the second half got them the 2 goals. The first one was a good one, although really, really easily they created the crossing position with just such a simple wing rotation that from an Ilves fan point of view, I was pissed off about that one. But yeah, that second one was an own goal. I think they would have been really lucky to get 3 points today, but they might be a bit unlucky to not get anything. I think they performed decently at the minimum. So I said at the start of the season that this might be a tough year for VPS as they've lost many of their better players from the earlier couple of seasons. They've lost some good players to other teams in Finland and also some abroad. So it would be a really good job from them to just stay around the top half of the table. I think that's pretty much the most you can expect out of VPS. But yeah, they are a tough team and a hard team to beat on their day. But yeah, I think they've actually done decently to be where they are.
I'm not sure if we did enough about Haka or anything about Haka. Was this deliberate because this is your local rivals down there in Tampere?
Not deliberate. Just not one of those teams I have too much to say on. Even the recent derby match against Ilves, which we managed to win 4-0. That was one of those. I was working, so didn't get the chance to be there or not even to watch the match that closely. So I think Haka is one of those. I don't have that much to say.
Maybe it's worth observing that last year they were competing in the top half. Right at the end, that was our sort of playoff, European playoff, like opponent, and now they seem to be. Well, they are languishing in 10th place with 15 points from 15 games, 16 scored. But they're having a tough season this year and not really picking up the points that they need. Lots of draws. They seem to do quite well against VPS Vaasa, but they can't play them every week.
Yeah.
And other than that, they're picking up some draws, but they're losing to Inter, Gnistan, Ilves, HJK. It's and KuPS, like they're losing. They've been losing a lot, drawing some and beating Vepsu.
Yeah, I think Haka is a bit similar to Vepsu in terms of their team hasn't strengthened by any means. Maybe the team is a bit weaker than last year. For example, one of the better players, in my opinion, Maissa Fall, plays for VPS, scored today against Ilves. So I think they've lost some of their better players from previous seasons. So not that much of a surprise that they are struggling to do anything remarkable. I think they're pretty much on par with what you expect from Haka, like point a match and keeping safe from the relegation battle for now, at least, but not really threatening the top 6 positions. I think Haka is one of a few teams that is the case.
To me, it seemed like a strange move when Eetu Mömmö left SJK at the end of last year to go to Haka. The only thing I can think, there must be a bit more money down there because he was playing for us and he's left a team that's now playing in Europe to join a team playing in third from bottom in the Veikkausliiga. I thought it was a strange move. I'm not sure if we necessarily wanted to lose him either, but I don't know.
I think he might have a bit of a bigger role for Haka than for SJK. There was some promise around Eetu Mömmö when he left from Ilves to abroad. I think at first he went to Italy and then after a few loan spells came back to Finland. But I think he's one of those players that hasn't really kicked on in his career. He's a decent Veikkausliiga level player, but not a special one in my opinion. And if he gets the chance to play big minutes at Valkeakoski, might be a good move for him, but seems so that he has to score a few goals just to keep them out of trouble.
Yeah, and I don't see many people in the top goal scorers list from Haka. Da Silva has 3. Lindholm has 3. Maybe goals is clearly part of their problem. The bottom 5 teams, they've each sort of scored. Actually, Oulu scored 21, but the others, Mariehamn 15, Jaro 17, Haka, and 10 of those coming from one player. Haka 16, KTP 16, and Oulu have got 21, which is a bit of an outlier, but their defence is a bit worse than the others as well. So, all right, I'll tell you what, Rasmus, I said to you when we started recording that 40 minutes would be okay, but we'll probably do an hour, and I think we've gone over the hour. But I think this was important. We've covered Veikkausliiga, we've talked a little bit, thrown forward to the Suomen Cup semi-finals, and we've covered what's going on in Europe. Do you have any more words to say on these subjects?
Maybe just I think I flew past it before, but the top scorer for the promoted side, Pietarsaari Jaro, Kerfala Sissoko, he's having a season of his life, scoring 10 goals for a promoted side. And if he keeps Jaro up with his goals, I think there might be a good move for him in Finland or maybe even abroad. So I think he's in the fight for the top goal scorers, but with the likes of Teemu Pukki and others. So really good going for him.
Yeah, then behind him, he's got 10. Then you've got Pukki, Faal from VPS and Alex Ring from HJK, both all on 7, and Kasper Parnanen from SJK on 6 in the Veikkausliiga. Listener, I put links to all of these, so all of the league tables and the scoring charts and everything in the blog post that we have for each episode. So wherever you're watching or listening, just have a look down there and you'll find a link there to the blog post, and in the blog post you'll find everything. So Rasmus, thanks very much. You're wherever you are recording this in your apartment, it's getting darker and darker and darker. We're in Finland at the moment where it doesn't get dark at night, so I don't know quite what's going on. Have you need to put 50 cents in the meter or something?
Yeah, maybe I'm all in the dark here because if I have a light on, it's just going to ruin the picture. So I've figured out that the best way is just to keep the lights off and trust on the long days of Finland.
Fair enough. Well, Before you go completely dark on us, thanks a lot for joining me today. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you at one of the SJK Ilves games later this summer.
Yeah, hope so too. Cheers, Mark, and thanks everyone.
And listener, thanks for listening, and until next episode of the Finnish Football Show, goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. Escape to Suomi on Twitter is now Finnish Football Show on X. And you will find us on Blue Sky at Finnish Football Pod. See the links in the episode description, along with the links to the Finnish Football Show merch.